gradient? How do we create the gradient in terms of thermodynamics?
Welcome to Flat Earth.
Hello.
Snacks are in the back, bathrooms on the left.
No, but I need to understand first how we get the gradient from this.
And I need to understand first how we got gas pressure without a container.
No, I give you the container and the gas pressure.
Oh, well, thank you.
Now give me
Welcome
gradient.
to Flat Earth. Snacks are in the back, bathrooms on the left.
Now give me gradient.
I already gave you the gradient.
No, you gave me gas pressure and the container.
Biogeochemical cycles. I already did. We already talked about this.
Now he's Flat Earth. He can search
chemical cycles.
You can search for yourself gradient.
What does gradient mean?
No, he gave us container and gas pressure. That means he's Flat Earther. He can search now for gradient.
Doesn't gradient mean high pressure next to low pressure?
No, it means continuous change.
No, check it. But you said you give us container. That means it's not a globe. It's not open system, you know? That means you need to search now for gradient and find out what is going on with this gradient.
Yeah, you can't just stop the search for things.
Wow, this is getting deep. Mr. Fly Guy, you can come in the VC. Can you speak? Come off mute. Come off mute and share your pain.
Isn't he muted?
Mr. Science Denier, is he? No.
He's ready in text chat. Oh yeah, he's not live muted. Okay.
No, he's a chat skank. He's the poster child for science deniers.
I live muted him because he was ad homing, so he can speak though if he wants to.
No, I don't think he can speak.
He made some stupid comments above.
He can speak.
Just what it'd say was it say the exact opposite of whatever I cited. That's it. It just say no, it's not. Oh God! Is that being recorded? Xanax muted Mr. Fly Guy because he's a moron and an imbecile and a lying sewer rat, and he's not even in here. That's why. Everyone knows this besides you. Are you aware of your surroundings, sir? That's what I thought. Coward. Why don't you regale us with your take on the second law of thermodynamics? We want the equation and a brief description. Please, floor is yours. Step right up. You just entered a world of pain, pretender clown. I'm going to expose your dumbass for everyone to see. You ready? Let's go. Simple question. Post the friggin' equation for the second law of thermodynamics and then give everyone a brief explanation of what it is. Mr. Fly Guy. Come off mute. You see, ladies and gentlemen, the jury out there, we got ball-tarred cowards, abject cowards. They'll sit here like a little weasel in chat and do their little chat skanking with their little words behind the keyboard because they got no backbone. They have no science acumen. They're incoherent, and they're fanatical religious zealots. That's what we got here. That's what he is.
He can't speak even if he wants to.
He can't speak even if he wants to. What are you, like his puppet master?
He's live muted.
He's not live muted.
Nico said he is.
He's not muted, you dipshit. How many times we got to tell you?
He is live muted. No, he can speak on the after show, not here. Not here.
He's not Chike, I'll tell you what, Chike, you're muted. How about that? Dumbass. He's not muted. I just checked him. He's not muted. Server mute, server deafen. It's clear. He can speak.
Right. Live mute is for the chat.
Oh my God, Chikey. When he's got check on live mute, that means he can't type in the text chat. Not that he can't speak. You'd figured you'd probably know this after being here 8 months, but leave it to Chikey. Do you even know, Chikey, do you even know your name? Let's start there. Chikey, what is your name?
Chike.
Unbelievable. I'm shocked that we even knew that.
So, Adriel, live mute me. Let's see if I can talk, okay?
Shut the hell up. My word, people. All right, what do we got? Maldman, you got any more questions? Second law, can we put the second law to bed?
Well, there's a sort of a second law question
Go.
for the creator.
Okay.
If the universe is an isolated system, then there's no energy or matter exchange with the outside of the universe.
Who says that the Earth is or the universe is an isolated system?
Doesn't the second law apply to isolated systems?
Second law applies to isolated, closed, and open systems. Applies to all systems.
Yeah, so if it applies to all systems, then nothing can
What?
be, well, the first law more.
What?
Wait a second.
Are you making
Yeah, it
stuff
applies
up?
to all. It applies to all systems.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, well, sort of. I mean, you can have entropy decreasing in a.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, I'm live muted.
Yeah, you're live muted, but you're speaking, aren't you?
Ah, yeah.
Ah, interesting.
Why is Paul Man live muted?
Because
Just
I
for
wanted to prove
test.
a point.
Yeah.
Oh, to prove it to Chike. Why do you even entertain Chikey, people? We're going to get back to your question, Mall Man. 1 second. Why do you even entertain Chikey? You know he's a dipshit.
Wait, was Chikey wrong again?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the record. He's got it.
Record.
Zanuck, you're number 2. Chikey just took over. How many times he's wrong? Chikey 1, Zanuck 2.
I don't know about that. All right, Mall Man. I was deliberately mucking with you, try to get you confused. Go ahead with your question.
Yeah. So the entropy can only increase. Wouldn't the creation event be a decrease in entropy?
Yes.
So entropy can decrease.
Not naturally.
But supernaturally it can.
Yes. And
Do we know?
man-made. And man can. Remember I told you there was a little blurring of the lines between supernatural and natural? I mean, sorry. Let's be specific. I said there's a little blurring of the lines between supernatural and man-made.
Yep.
Right? So entropy can do yes, because I can drop a glass on the floor and bust it everywhere, and then when I put them all back together again to sweep them up, I'm decreasing entropy, ain't I?
Yep.
Does that have any second law implications?
It's just entropy decreased.
Yeah, but I decreased it.
Yep.
It didn't happen naturally. If I left that glass on my floor and never ever even looked at it, would entropy decrease or
No,
increase?
it'll increase. Yeah.
Exactly, you got it. So on to your question. Now, the second law applies to all systems, right? It applies to isolated systems. It applies to closed systems and open systems. It's a natural law. It applies everywhere. Now, we do agree. You're agreeable on that, correct?
Yeah. The overall entropy will always increase. Yeah.
It's valid without exceptions to closed and open systems.
Yep.
Yeah. And you also know that there are no isolated systems in nature that we know of. Do you agree with that?
Except nature.
No, there are no isolated systems in nature that we are aware of.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah.
As far as we know, let me put it to, do you want me to cite this?
I mean, you can, but I would say that we don't know if the universe is isolated or not isolated. It's
As
a
far as
system.
we know, let me go get it, since there's a question here. Let me find it first. That's going to be the trick. All right, where'd you go?
My
just
question
wondering if
would be,
Hold on a second. Hold on.
would
So-
there ever be an open system
Hold on.
if we're living in an isolate or an enclosed
Hold on.
system?
You can have closed systems inside open systems and open systems within closed systems. So be very careful with what you say.
Okay.
Now, one thing at a time. Let's deal with this. So from hyperphysics, that's Georgia State University. An isolated system implies a collection of matter which does not interact with the rest of the universe at all. And as far as we know, that's as much as we know right now, there are really no such systems. Good?
Agreed.
If you're going to make a comment about the universe, you'd have to know the boundary conditions. Now,
We don't know if it's.
yeah, I'm not trying to sidetrack the discussion because we're going to get back to God with this. I think we already talked about it. I'm not trying to sidestep that issue. I'm just trying to be hyper specific. You would have to know the boundary conditions, period. Right?
Yeah, we don't know if the universe is isolated or not isolated.
Exactly.
We can never know.
Well, you don't know. I know.
How do you know?
I know because of gas pressure. It's got to be a closed system. So what we call the universe. See, that's why I find it's important to discuss what context are we discussing this in, because there's two paradigms. You're thinking of the universe as, 3.58 times 10 to the 80th cubic meters of expanding vacuum of fairy tale space into something that we don't even know what it's expanding into. However, I know that the Earth is a closed system, and what we call the universe and all the stars and the sun and the moon are inside that container. See the difference?
I mean, I don't see a big difference if I say that we're in the same system as space and the universe.
No, I say it's a closed system. You can't say anything. You don't know
Why?
because you don't know
Well,
the boundary
how do
conditions.
But you don't either.
Yes, I do.
How do you know that?
I just told you. Gas pressure.
Yeah, there's gas pressure in space.
What?
There's gas pressure in space.
No, you can't have a vacuum of space next to gas pressure without a container. It's a closed system.
But there's gas pressure in space. 10 to the negative 17.
I'm not saying it. Let me say this again.
Okay.
You cannot have a vacuum of space adjacent to gas pressure without a container barrier,
Why?
because it violates the second law of thermodynamics.
What way?
Just went
Or
over
how?
this. How many times do we have to go over this, sir?
Yeah, but there's pressure next to pressure. I don't see the issue.
Pressure next to pressure. You're just not getting this. Okay, let's just kill this. I want you to listen. I'm going to cite it in here, and we're going to go through this together. I did this last night with somebody, and it ended a 20-minute discussion in a couple seconds. All right. Are you seeing this at 28 minutes after the hour?
Yeah, 28 after. Yeah.
Yeah, we just went over this up in one of Xanax train wrecks. So this is from the entropysite.org. This is Frank Lambert. Gas expansion into a vacuum. The mixing of ideal gases or liquids, diffusion, fusion, colligative effects on osmosis, each fundamentally involves an increase in entropy. So you see that gas expansion into a vacuum? That has to happen.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, how are we still breathing?
I mean, what's the vacuum there? We have a gradient of pressure.
Gradient, red herring fallacy.
Why?
Because it's besides the topic. I said gas pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gas expansion into a vacuum. You see, your position states that you have gas pressure without a barrier next to a vacuum. You can't have that. What you're saying is that there is a decrease in entropy. Gas is staying close to the earth without a barrier. That's a decrease in entropy. That doesn't happen in nature.
Well, it does. I mean, there is more pressure below. It does happen in nature.
It doesn't happen in nature. That gas would fill the listen to what I said. Gas expansion into a vacuum. That is an increase in entropy. So that should take place, in other words. It should have already taken place. It more or less, you shouldn't even had gas pressure to begin with if it was a vacuum, but I digress.
Yeah, but
this kills it. So what you're saying here is that we have gas pressure, gradient or otherwise, adjacent to a vacuum without physical barrier. That's a decrease in entropy. That's a
an
decrease in
observation.
entropy. That's your whole paradigm.
Yeah, but that's what we observe.
That's no, you don't. That's a second law of thermodynamics violation.
But that's what we observe. I mean, there's a low vacuum.
No, it's not what you observe. It can't be. Because that's a second law of thermodynamics
Well,
violation.
what's a vacuum?
What's a vacuum?
Yeah.
Dude. You have a second, you are, in your paradigm, you're living in a second law of thermodynamics violation. You have no barrier between the vacuum of space and the gas pressure here on Earth. You're decreasing entropy, which not
The
according to
entropy
you.
increases in nature. I don't know why.
Because
I mean,
gas is not
there's
expanding
gas
into the
pressure.
vacuum.
Well, it isn't. There's a vacuum
That's what I'm.
above.
That's exactly what I'm
But
saying.
that's observed.
That's a
Observed
violation.
and measured.
No, it's not observed. You're begging the question. You can't have that. There must be a container.
Yeah, so the universe must be contained. So that your
No. The Earth must be contained.
So, John, this is an argument that I was having with Moldman earlier. Exactly the same situation where on a macro scale and a micro scale, we can see that gas fills the container. But they were arguing that as you go up in altitude, because of the thinning of the atmospheric pressure and the fact that near the container, or where we presume a permanent barrier that they want to give us, seems to decrease quite considerably as we move up.
So what?
So on a micro scale, looking at, say, gases contained in, for example, maybe a couple of 100,000 square feet, the gas would move outwards till it reaches the container, and then it would start to rebound or sort of push the pressure back towards the central area. Whereas in our containment, it does seem to have this gradiated zone where you'd almost expect that the gas would be pushing out and you'd have a slightly higher pressure towards that Kármán line. And I was saying to them, it's only because we're contained that we have the pressure in the first place, but it still seems to defy a little bit of reasoning with that entropy increase. You'd think that the gas would be pushing out towards that container constantly, whereas we do observe a decrease in the pressure as we tend to rise. And that's either due to density or electrostatics or whatever else is causing this sort of sedimentation or this density layer gradation as we move up.
Dude, relax. right? This is getting into a long monologue of horse shit. Where's the container?
It's still
Not
a
you.
gray area.
Not
Okay.
you. It's not a gray area. You have to have containment. Listen to what I just said. Gas expansion into a vacuum. That's an increase in entropy. I don't have to go to the other ones. We're just doing that one. So gas expansion into a vacuum, it is a description of an increase in entropy. It always happens without barrier containment. So it's not happening. Therefore, there must be barrier containment. It's as simple as that. Mall man.
Yep.
Yeah. You're living in the second law of thermodynamics violation in your paradigm.
I mean, I guess we all are because there's less pressure above.
No, you are.
No, but that's what we observe.
No, it's not what you observe.
I mean, when you go up,
because you're breathing, son.
yeah, but when you go up, there's less pressure. Right.
It doesn't matter about the gradient. For God's sakes, it's a red herring fallacy.
Yeah, but what sounds like vacuum is just an arbitrary word there.
Vacuum's not arbitrary.
Well, what is it then?
What do you think it is? You don't know what a vacuum is?
Well, there's a lot of different vacuums. There's low
All right.
vacuums, high vacuums.
Well, let's friggin' define it. I'll red herring fallacy away from you, no problem. So let's take a look at this. We have a low, medium, high, ultra high, extremely high, and outer space. We're talking about that outer space one, the 10 to the negative 17 torr.
Okay. Can you have extremely high vacuum in nature?
You have no.
You can't?
Nope.
What about ultra high vacuum?
Nope.
High vacuum?
Oh, God.
No, where's the line?
It's way down there.
What do you mean way down there?
Low vacuum, medium vacuum. You're not getting out of this, no matter what you do. Where's
I'm
the
just
line?
wondering.
The line is that if you had gas pressure, I'm going to tell you where the line is.
Okay.
If you had gas pressure next to what we're actually talking about here is we're dealing with past an extremely high vacuum, 10 to the negative 17 torr. That's your story.
Yeah.
Not mine.
So that's impossible.
You don't have an argument.
I'm just like we have pressure decreasing with altitude, and I'm trying to find the.
I don't care. Gas pressure gradients have nothing to do with this discussion. How many fucking times I gotta tell you that? The 760. You see this low vacuum right here? You see that 760 torr to 25 torr?
Yep.
You see that?
Yep.
That 760 torr is going to go towards what?
Towards. I mean, it doesn't go towards anything. There's
going
a gradient,
towards 25 torr. If it's next to the 20, if 760 is next to 759, it's going that direction. So what? That's my point.
Is it?
Yes. High pressure to low pressure.
I mean, I've seen the pressure gradient existing without updraft, so.
Oh my God! You still go back to this pressure gradient.
No, I'm saying that. Go on.
The pressure gradient doesn't preclude the fact that you need a container for gas pressure to begin with.
Yeah.
What was that?
But I don't know if the universe is contained.
The universe, like you said, there's two definitions of the universe. My definition of the universe, I know it's contained. Everything is within the container.
Wait a minute. Moleman said earlier that the universe was contained. He's double speaking.
Yeah, saying I don't know. It could be contained.
No, you said it was
Or could be
contained.
expanding.
You actually said the universe is contained. You actually said
It's
that.
contained. It's contained within itself when it's expanding. So it's kind of contained but expanding at the same time.
No, that's double talk, double speaking bullshit. You don't know the boundary conditions, number one. You're just speculating. Number two, I just destroyed your entire argument. Can you have gas pressure next to a vacuum with that barrier?
Well, I have.
No, you don't.
Well, if I go up 10 kilometers, there's a vacuum there, and there's no barrier between me and that.
Here we go. You're friggin' out of your damn. How do you know there's no barrier?
Because I've been to an airplane.
You've been to an
Didn't.
airplane that says that
Yeah.
you're getting off into retardia now. So your statement is, your logical syllogism is that you've been to an airplane and that means there's no container on the earth.
No. It's that I've been to an airplane. It's that I've been to an airplane and there was no barrier between high pressure and low pressure.
You've been to an airplane and there's no barrier between high pressure. That's non sequitur. Doesn't follow.
We observe no barrier. Why
Makes
would we
no
observe
sense,
barrier?
right? That doesn't make any sense. Back to my definition, the gas flowing into a vacuum, gas expansion into a vacuum is increase in entropy. How are you still breathing?
Because we have gas here.
Yeah, because you got a 10 to the negative 17 torr outer space, right? That gas
Yeah.
pressure will attempt to increase entropy. It's not going to attempt. It's going to increase entropy and attempt to fill the entire volume available to it and in an attempt to equilibrate. That equilibration would be 10 to the negative 17 torr. How are you still breathing, sir?
I mean, I don't see why the gradient can't go there. 'Cause it goes observably to quite low.
It observe it. You can see a gradient. I'm going to play your gradient game, which is red herring fallacy. I'll play it. You see a gradient? Show me a picture of.
Measure the gradient.
You measured the gradient?
No,
right.
not personally, but on an airplane. I've been on an airplane.
You measured the gradient of the atmosphere in an airplane. Airplane only goes at 30,000, 40,000 feet, unless in one of the friggin' what the heck's the name of that thing? Can't remember. You've been in an airplane, so what did you do in your airplane? SR-71, sorry.
Ah, yeah, so 71. I haven't been to one of those. Yeah, but I've been on an airplane, and it had to be pressurized because the outside air pressure was so low.
It had to be pressured. Was there a container?
Yeah, with the pressurization, yeah, there's a container.
Well, yeah, that's my whole argument.
Yeah, but there's no container between Earth and that altitude.
And there's no container. I didn't say there had to be.
Yeah, me neither.
What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a container in the airplane because the gas would fill the space.
Yeah,
But the
pressure.
gas
Yeah,
from
that's what I'm saying. How do you have gas pressure without a container?
well, there's gas pressure everywhere. So
You just said that to have gas pressure in the airplane, that you had to be contained. So my question then is, how do you have gas pressure without a container?
well, the airplane has to be contained to
Yeah,
keep
that's
the
what-
air in.
Yeah, that's
But
what we're
the-
saying. Oh man, you
Yep.
just agreed with me that you have pressurized gas or gas pressure, you need a container. You just agreed with me with that. Then I asked you, how do you have gas pressure without a container? You should say you can't.
Yeah, the gas from ground or where we live doesn't rush into the place where the airplane flies for some reason.
It's doesn't rush into it. Yeah, it's increasing entropy. Yes, it's
Yeah, it
getting
doesn't go there. It's
yes,
staying
it
here.
does. No, it doesn't.
Does?
Yes, they're called.
So
It's
we
called
have-
the biogeochemical cycles. Yes, it does. Yeah,
So
is
there's
gas made at 30,000 feet?
no.
Then how do you suppose it got there?
I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
I guess it got there from the ground.
Yes, it did. You just said it didn't in your previous statement.
No, I'm saying that the gas from here isn't rushing to there now.
Oh, so it isn't rushing. What do you mean by rushing? Why would it rush?
Well, there's 14.7 next to, let's say, 10 psi. Shouldn't it go there?
No. It's
Fast.
the gradient. No, it's not. It's a gradient. It's heading up there.
Oh, okay. But I'm just wondering, like, if you have it left to right, it'll rush there. But if you have it up and down, yeah, it doesn't.
Left to right. What the fuck?
Like if I have the gradient that we have, like upwards, if you have that same gradient left to right, it'll equalize immediately.
You can't get around this gradient, man. That's a begging the question fallacy on steroids. Can you see the picture at 12:40 or 45 minutes after the hour?
Wait a second.
You see that blue dot right in the middle?
Wait a second. Oh, yeah.
You see that blue dot? What you're trying to tell me is there is gas pressure right around there, and all around it is 10 to the negative 17 torr, and it's not increasing entropy, second law of thermodynamics violation. It's just staying right around there and not attempting to fill the volume available to it. This is a second law of thermodynamics violation and batshit insane.
And we get energy from the sun.
Oh
so
my God. What is energy? The energy from the sun, that's making your problem worse. Why? Do you know why?
Not sure.
Because it's increasing the kinetic energy of the gas particles that move faster.
Yeah, at the ground level, but then it gets
At the ground
lower.
level. At the ground level, doesn't the sun hit higher levels?
Yeah,
of
but
gas?
it's colder, higher. Yeah.
Have you heard of the thermosphere?
Yeah, that's hot.
Is it
With,
colder in the thermosphere than it is on the surface of the earth?
No, it's hotter.
There you go. You just train wrecked your entire argument.
I don't know if he caught that. I caught something he said. It's hotter at ground level, then gets colder, and then gets hotter again. That seems to be contradictory, doesn't it?
It seems to go against gas laws too.
Not
That's
going
what we
against the
observe.
gas law. What are the gas laws that it's going against?
There's no correlation there between pressure and temperature, volume.
Oh, you're going to the retard manifesto. Gay-Lussac's law. Do you know what Gay-Lussac's law is? Can you tell me right now? I'll give you some time to look it up. That's fair, because that's.
I just saw it on the chat. I didn't remember the name, but constant volume, then pressure is proportional to the temperature.
Oh, really? A constant volume. Really? Can you have volume without a container?
Yeah.
You can define volume.
There's a cube of air above me.
Wrong.
Meter
That's
by
not-
meter by meter.
I want the definition. No. I want you to define it, and then I want citation support.
Find what volume?
Yep.
Well, I can look for a definition for it.
Yep. I want you to look for a definition of volume.
Don't do it, sir. You're young.
Says one is the amount of space that a substance or object occupies or that is enclosed within a container.
Oh shit! There you go. Container.
So the amount of space that a substance or object occupies.
In an enclosed container. You forgot
Or-
the last
Or
Not-
that
not-
is
not-
enclosed within a container.
Yeah. So we got volume is the quantity of three-dimensional space enclosed by a closed surface. For example, the space that a substance, solid, liquid, or gas, or plasma shape occupies or contains, right? Volume is often quantified numerically using the SI-derived unit, the cubic meter. The volume of a container is generally understood to be the capacity of the container, i.e. the amount of fluid, gas, or liquid that the container could hold, rather than the amount of space the container itself displaces.
I
That's-
told you not
So-
to do it.
Told
so
you not to.
would you
You're a young
so
man.
Gay-Lussac's law says that a constant volume, contained.
Yeah,
Then
you need a
pressure
container.
is proportional to the temperature.
Yeah, you need a container. In other words, yes.
Okay, but the pressure is not proportional to
No, you've
temperature.
already lost the argument.
Yeah, but your own paradigm is going against that law.
No, your own paradigm. You're trying to falsify Gay-Lussac's law, sir. You're not even aware of it.
Yeah, but if
You.
the atmosphere,
You,
if
sir.
you're,
I'm
Go
sorry.
on.
I'm sorry. I already had a whole frigging video series on this. It's called The Retard Manifesto. It's on my channel. Just go to my channel and punch in Retard Manifesto, and this goes over step by step of your train wreck that you're walking into right now.
Can I ask a question about the flat Earth? Is it possible?
That's a nice little that stick save. You're not saved. Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, so your gas pressure has constant volume, right? In an enclosed system.
Yes.
And that would mean that pressure is proportional to temperature.
You're going down the retard manifesto, sir. I told you not to do that, but you're going to do it. Go ahead.
Okay? We know that pressure is not proportional to temperature
What?
in the air that we breathe.
You know that pressure is not proportional to temperature? What the fuck, dude?
Yeah, you can check the barometers from airports. Check the ATIS information.
At the airports, really, is that a at the airport? Where's the container around the airport?
You said that the Earth is contained
Yeah,
and pressure is proportional to temperature.
yeah.
But you can
So
have
the temperature
one
at the
pressure.
airport, let's say, is 80 degrees. Let's say I go to bumfuck Egypt and the temperature is 90 degrees. Did you take that into account?
I don't get your
Is
question.
bumfuck Egypt still part of the Earth?
Egypt is a part of the Earth.
You're so lost. This is
I mean, I
so
don't know how.
dumpster fire. This is a belly laugher. What are you
Well,
just talking about the temperature at the airport?
I mean, if you have a pressure, let's say 14.7 psi, exactly 14.7, can you have that same pressure with two different temperatures?
What?
Yeah. If, let's say, I mean, I don't know how that's hard. Like, you have 14.7 psi where I'm at, and 14.7 psi where you are at.
If we're at sea
Wouldn't-
level, yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't Gay-Lussac's law say that the temperature that we have should be the same?
You could have more gas.
But then there's pressure
that was
difference.
gonna be-
What if a diesel truck showed up outside the airport or showed up where you're taking your temperature measurements and started blowing friggin' diesel, just black friggin' diesel smoke in the air?
Then there's pressure change.
Yeah, but there's none at my airport because there wasn't any friggin' diesel truck there.
Yeah, but if the pressure is the same,
Yeah, but the pressure
the
is
temperature
the
should
same.
be
It's not the same.
but
And the temperature is
mean-
still the same.
For example,
So
the
you're saying-
thermosphere. The thermosphere rises in temperature, but yet the pressure is decreasing.
yeah,
Well, because there's less volume. Or, I'm sorry, there's less gas. Simple.
lower pressure but same temperature.
There's less gas. This is a clusterfuck of epic proportions.
I mean, I don't
Go
see the
to my-
pressure.
Listen, let's stop this because this is a waste of this is a joke. Go to my channel, go to the Retard Manifesto, and I'll walk you through step by step.
I'll go and have a look at it.
I'll be back in 2 minutes.
I should go to check for the ATIS information from airports where there's two same temperatures but different pressures. It should be impossible if the Earth is contained.
I think that pressure and temperature are not directly proportional. For example, a cloud can move in front of the sun, and in that localized zone, it can drop in temperature very quickly from not having direct sunlight, even though the air pressure is the same.
Yeah, but that's when QE would step in and say that it's not according to Gay-Lussac's law, which states that pressure and temperature correlate, and we see that those don't correlate in the atmosphere.
Well, we understand that when you increase pressure radically or in a fast manner, it does create an increase in temperature. So they are proportional or correlational in some aspect, but the direct relationship saying at this temperature it will be this pressure, I don't think they're correlational.
Yeah, that's my point too.
For me, an absolute globe killer is battery technology. There isn't a known battery that can operate at higher than 70 degrees Celsius. You've got lead acid, you've got lithium ion, you've got lithium phosphates, you've got sodium batteries, you've got lead acids, and now the recent introduction of supercapacitor type technology. Even supercapacitor storage can only reach a top temperature of about 90 degrees to 100 degrees Celsius. And then you look at this apparent space technology is run on batteries in temperatures that exceed 200 degrees Celsius. The battery just simply cannot cope with that.
But inside the shuttle, there's not 200 degrees though.
Well, even from a solar panel perspective, if you look at solar panels, their operational efficiency starts to dip at about 35 degrees Celsius. And at about 50 degrees Celsius, the efficiency of a solar panel drops radically. So they've had to work on a lot of technology to try and get solar panels to become more efficient in higher temperatures. The film laminate technology that they actually use in like the space station is a little bit more robust, up to temperatures of 60 and 70 degrees. But we're told that in space it's 200 degrees in the sun and minus 200 in the darkness. And to me, that was an absolute globe killer. Just understanding solar technology and battery technology. Batteries cannot cope, solar panels cannot cope. But to the untrained person, they just think, oh, they've got enough panels, they've got enough batteries, so they can do whatever they like. But in those kind of temperatures and those kind of zones, it's absolutely impossible.
I think it's the very low pressure of air that kind of takes care of it. Not sure though.
Well,
Actually,
they say
let me say something
they say
quick.
that the sunlight cannot, or it's basically that the sunlight reflects off molecules, and then the molecule vibrates and picks up the sort of the energy that then registers it as temperature. But
okay, can I say be quiet for like an hour? This
effectively
is
a solar panel.
Ever
solar
heard?
panel.
What are you talking about? You think solar panels are operating at 700 degrees C or something? No, they're not.
Solar panels cannot. Solar panels have.
They don't work at those
operating
temperatures. Just because they're facing the sun doesn't mean they're hot.
They are hot because
they're not.
They're absorbing.
No, they're not.
absorbing.
They're absorbing
heat
and then radiating it out in the opposite direction. That's how they work. That's how they keep
cannot radiate. They
They
cannot
can't.
radiate
You don't think
into
radiation is real?
non-atmosphere.
Do you not
They
understand
cannot
how
radiate
radiation
into
works? Do
non-atmosphere.
you not understand how radiation works?
Of course I
It
do.
seems like
This
you
is my
don't.
specialty.
Well, then if you understand, then you are completely in the dark. If you think that you don't have something that gets warm on one side, it doesn't radiate on the other when it's cooler, then you are breaking the first law of the second law of thermodynamics, both.
What would it radiate into, Xanax?
Wait,
Would it
Wait,
radiate into
wait,
other
a small
molecules?
question.
Or
A
the
small
absence- or
question.
the
How did the
absence of
sun
molecules?
radiate in a vacuum, not in air? Hmm?
So it's an excitement
How,
of molecules.
No,
how did
but
the
he says he's a
radiation from the
wait,
sun got there?
Chuck, he said he's a specialist. I'm going to call him out on this. You don't understand the three ways that heat can actually be transferred. Let me know the three ways, Mr. Radiation Specialist. Your specialty,
What
you
do
said.
I'm a specialist in
exactly.
renewable energy.
No.
So in
What are
terms
the three
of the
ways?
generation
What
of
are the
energy
three ways
from
he can?
renewables?
What is the three ways he can transfer? Since you're a specialist.
I'm not a specialist in heat transfer.
Well, then if you know
I'm a
heat transfer,
specialist
then
in
you should
energy
know the simple
generation.
fifth grade question: three ways that heat can be transferred or moved.
Inductive, convective, and potentially, I don't know what the third one would be.
Wrong.
Okay, so explain to me, seeing as you're the heat expert.
I'm not the heat expert. I'm giving you sixth grade science class here. You are in the dark.
You
Sixth grade.
the
Okay.
topic.
We
You
have
sidestepped the
convection. You know what
topic.
convection is?
An
You know what
object.
convection
An
is?
object.
Hello,
An
Mr. Heat
object.
Transfer Specialist. Convection.
An
What is
object.
convection? Do you know what convection is?
Of course, I know what a convection
What is
is. What
convection?
I'm talking about
Oh,
is the
I'm
object.
going to give you a lesson on the three.
Let me go
Because you
back
didn't
to
know
the
them.
original
Why don't you want to
point
learn something?
that you're
You
trying to
admitted not learning.
sidestep.
I know them. You wanted to know. I'm trying to educate you, and you're still trying to overtalk me.
You're still asking me questions.
Yeah, I am.
asked
So I'm
you,
trying to help you.
What are they?
How you learn is not by listening, by actually doing or looking. And I'm going to give you the doing and the listening part together. So convection, radiation, and conduction. You said induction, and you didn't know the third. So what is convection?
Convection is basically entropy. It's heat.
No, it's not entropy. You're bad as quantum on entropy. No, entropy is the energy that's unavailable to do work in a system. Get it right. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that anything.
You don't know
anything.
what entropy is, you clown
If high
show.
pressure does.
You clown show. You have already been
High
exposed. You don't
pressure
know what
doesn't move
entropy
to low
is.
pressure if there's a force acting on it.
Shut the hell up.
That's a fact.
You don't know what entropy is.
I do
You don't
know
know.
what entropy
I
is.
taught you.
I
the
do.
three types
I
of
do know what entropy is actually. If you want to talk about it, leave me
I
out.
taught you entropy.
You didn't
and
touch
the three
anything.
types of energy transfer.
When does mixing happen in
You
entropy?
freaking punk. Shut the fuck up.
I have a question about heat transfer. Why do we use vacuum thermoses on thermoses instead of some other form of insulation? Why do we use
Him.
I know, but what's the heat? If it's radiation, then a vacuum should radiate out the heat from the thermos faster, right? Instead of convection or conduction, right?
Fuck him.
I know.
He's just mindlessly parroting back what I taught him.
However, even if you leave a thermos in direct sunlight, it's going to warm. So if molecules are in contact with direct light, they will heat up. So a solar panel placed in direct sunlight at 200 degrees Celsius, which we're told that space is, the solar panel would not be able to perform efficiently, and it would not be able to generate the energy. And then secondly, a battery cannot operate above 90 C. So anytime that they're telling you a battery in space, it's absolute BS if we're meant to believe, beyond the absolute absurdity of space in the first place. But effectively, the technology, a chemical technology storing kinetic or potential energy in a chemical substance at temperatures of 200 C, it's not doable. So if you look into it, you'll actually see that solar energy debunks the fucking heliocentric model without even trying.
How?
Well, hang on a second before you move.
I've just explained both the solar panel and the battery technology has limitations. It has certain zones that are optimal, And that's why you try and keep them in cooled conditions to be able to perform optimally for the duration of the lifespan. So if a battery is not kept in optimal conditions, firstly, you lose cycles, which is the depth of discharge. And then secondly, a solar panel in suboptimal conditions will not perform the way it's meant to be. So having massive arrays will effectively be as equivocal as using 3 or 4 panels, if you're comparing 20 or 30 panels that are not performing efficiently.
How does it
So,
debunk the globe?
well, the evidence that we are presented with comes from that second law of thermodynamics violation area known as space. So effectively, for me, working in this technology, the day that I heard the words flat earth and I started to do my research and knowing what I know about battery technology and solar panel technology, it just all came together and made me realize that those people that present us with the evidence
hold on. Can you please be concise? Don't give us lectures. So how does space violate the second law of thermodynamics?
Because of entropy increase.
What on earth? We just went through this for the past 45 minutes.
No, you didn't.
Ah, God!
I asked you a question and you couldn't answer.
Fuck you!
Well, I've got something I want to bring up from something Puppy said a while back. He said these meteorites are in the vacuum of space, and the reason they have to slowly cool, and the reason they slowly cool is they're in a vacuum of space. So I think the guy's making a good argument, mainly because if the sun is hitting them, they're constantly heating up. When I was in the military, if you set out a wrench too long out on the toolbox, they issued you flight gloves, because if you picked up that wrench in Las Vegas in over 100-degree temperature, you could burn your hand from it. So now you got something that's constantly in the sunlight, in a vacuum. How's it radiating the heat away?
It cannot radiate heat unless there's an atmosphere to be able to put that excess energy into.
That's my point. Yeah, that's the point I'm making.
And it's really crucial. The same thing with solar panels is that they need to be ventilated. They need to be mounted with good circulation. So even when they're placed on top of a roof, they need to be spaced adequately so that the air can flow behind them to cool the panel efficiently, so that it can try and stay below the 35-40 degree temperature, which starts to create inadequate performance. So having that airflow is really crucial. So being in a place without any oxygen or any atmosphere or any sort of gases that can transmit the heat, it's illogical that people who actually understand this technology haven't come forward and said this can't work where they say they're sending it.
Wait a second. I got in on this conversation a little bit late, and then I'm in another conversation. I'm a man. I can't do two things at once. So that is so funny. I did. You see, you're begging the question fallacy with this vacuum. We already destroyed that. But I did a presentation on the solar panels on the ISS not that long ago. It's on my channel with the temperatures. Okay. With the temperatures, because it's in the thermosphere. The ISS is allegedly, quote unquote, in the thermosphere, right?
Impossible. With those impossible.
Right, exactly. So I went through, what it's made of. I think it's aluminum T21 and its melting point, right? And I also went over the solar panels because they're made from pure silicon, and silicon's melting point. And there was some big even though I'm begging the question fallacy, till the cows come home with this, right? That it's preposterous. But you could just stop at no vacuum. There can't be a vacuum. It's the second law of thermodynamics violation. Thanks.
Exactly. From a material standpoint, exactly what you said now, it should be melting and certainly not in the shape or position that it was when it was set up and installed, even though there's no video evidence of that. And then secondly, from a performance perspective, panels have a lifespan of about 25 years. The ISS has just hit 20 years. So where's the replacement panels? Where are they doing any kind of maintenance or repair on that kind of work? Secondly, on the actual efficiency of the panel in that type of temperature, it would be working at about 5%
Yeah.
or 10% of what the panel is
Yeah,
rated
but remember,
at. So,
you made a mistake. You said
entertaining the whole
you're
bullshit
you're
space
begging
thing.
the question fallacy, no doubt about it. So you need to stop doing that. But just end this. Just to end, I know I do it. I'm guilty of it because I think it's fun sometimes. But we got to get real at some point. But you said that the temperature of outer space was negative 200. No, it's not. No, it's
That's
not.
what they claim in the shade. They say that it goes from minus 200 to positive 200,
Thermosphere?
going from darkness. No. In say, for example, in the moon temperatures, where they say that they're using moon buggies with solar panels, and in Mars atmosphere they're using solar panels.
That's bullshit. That's
Agreed.
bullshit. They can't say that. They're 200 and plus 200. They can't say, they're contradicted themselves.
And there's a problem with that too, engineeringly speaking, because what happens when you rapidly heat up and cool things?
Fractures,
What happens?
loss
Fractures.
in integrity.
Yep. That's why if you pour on something super heated, if you pour something super cold on it, it cracks, right?
Correct. And even from a capacity or a production perspective, to run air conditioners, you probably need about 10 to 12 dedicated panels just to run that air conditioner for even an 8-hour period. If you're talking about running an air conditioner for 24 hours, you're probably looking at 30 plus panels to be able to store sufficient energy in batteries just to run a couple of air conditioners. So once you consider all the technology and everything that's apparently on that ISS bullshit thing that they claim, they would be talking about probably 50 to 100 kilowatts of battery storage, which means that you'd probably be looking at about 300 to 500 panels worth of solar panels. And that's today's panels, where we're at 450 watts per panel. Whereas 10, 15 years ago, we were at 100 watts per panel for the equivalent size. So it's really ludicrous when they start to claim the type of power that they're producing. And then when you go and look at like the initial launches, then they refer to something called nuclear batteries. And when you look, there's no such thing as a nuclear battery, but because they understood that certain people would start to create resistance against the temperature variations and everything with batteries, they started creating all this bullshit. And we know nuclear is all a load of BS. So when they start to refer to nuclear batteries, it's about as laughable as them referring to this massive space that the gas could fill but is choosing not to, or calling atmosphere air sphere, so air in a sphere shape. It's ludicrous.
Yeah, contradiction in terms. You got it. Exactly. Yep. All righty then.
But yeah, we can really make that presentation like a silver bullet for them, QE. If you want to go into like what solar powered, it just unpacks any space claim that they've ever done about generating power and storing power in that region is beyond fairy tales, beyond the other fairy tales that we already know.
Now I'll just stick with the second law and then put my feet up and light up the stogie. But thanks.
You guys are right. Yeah, stop it right there.
Yep. But it's fun to talk about their little contradictions. There's contradictions every step you go. Everywhere.
Nuances, yeah.
Yeah. And they're fun sometimes. I'll leave you to do that while I'm gone. So what time we got?
But I think just going back to that thing that bear guy was talking about, he was talking about horizontal versus vertical high pressure to low pressure movement. And I think what he wasn't realizing as well is that when our winds are created through high pressure and low pressure cycles, it's actually created through updraft. And the updraft creates the low pressure, which pulls the air horizontally. So he was saying, no, high pressure goes to low pressure, but why doesn't the high pressure of sea level go to the low pressure of Mount Everest? Effectively, it is an updraft that's creating those sideways winds. So I think it was just he was completely mistaken.
You're a clown show, friggin' Zanuck.